today. We're joined by Joanna from Lucifer. How are you?
Thank you. Very well. How are you today?
Doing fantastic. I know it's very exciting with the new album coming up, but if you could take us back first and let us know, growing up, who were your musical heroes and how did you get to start making music of your own?
I started very early. I think I went to my first metal show when I was 13, and the first few shows was stuff like Guns N' Roses, Danzig, Metallica, and then around the age of 15, 16, I joined my first band, and I got really deep into death metal and black metal stuff for a while. And well, as you get older, along the way, I played in many different bands and kind of went back into musical history and kind of ended up with, you know, this classic 70s hard rock, proto-heavy metal stuff. So this is what influences my band Lucifer very much.
Sure. Now, I know you're coming out of the Oath. What is about Lucifer that makes this the best band for you?
Well, I guess Lucifer is a bit more eclectic than the Oath. It goes a bit deeper, and the musicianship is definitely more developed. I mean, the Oath was a great band. For those who do not know them, the Oath was quite similar in the start, but was leaning a bit more towards heavy metal, especially new wave of British heavy metal. But the guitar player I was working with then, she had a much more raw style of playing guitar. You know, she had those very punky kind of Motorhead riffs. While the guitar player I'm writing with for Lucifer now, he used to play in Cathedral, and he is, in my eyes, one of the best guitar players, you know, in the doom genre. And he's such a wizard. You know, he plays like a maniac. So I think that takes Lucifer on a bit more eclectic level. Yeah.
Sure. So it gives you more styles, more power, more flexibility to write. Tell us about the writing process. How do you come up with the songs?
Well, you know, with the Oath, we would actually go to a rehearsal room and jam and just come up with stuff on the spot. With Lucifer, that was different because I live in Berlin, and Gary Jennings, the guitar player, we are the two that are writing for Lucifer together. So he lives in London, and so this process was a different one. We were sending files back and forth over the internet. He has a little home mini studio, so do I. And basically I plotted out the whole concept for Lucifer and then told him what I want to do and gave him references. And then he would shoot over a ton of riffs and song structures and so on. And I would go through it and sort it out, and I would tell him, well, how about you take out this crazy heavy metal bridge and we do something more moody here or whatever. So we'd arrange the songs together, and then again when they down and write the lyrics and the melodies for it. So basically we were doing all these demos, Gaz and I, online, and then give them to the other guys in the band. And in the end, before entering the studio to record the album, we would meet up in Berlin for a few days and rehearse the songs, you know, like a proper band, and put life into them and this kind of organic feel, obviously, and then just go straight into the studio and record them.
So it's a little bit of technology to collaborate, even though you're both, you know, far away from each other.
Yeah, it had to be this way, you know. Obviously, with all the flying back and forth would have been taking too long, I guess.
Well, that is the wizard, and tell us about how you found your bass player and drummer, and how together you make, you know, a strong unit.
Well, I had the drummer already, Andrew Prestige. He was playing with the Oath as well, my last band, on the record and live, and we were all kind of devastated that the band was over. And I said, well, I want to do something new right away, you know, channel all this energy into something creative opposed to hanging my head, you know. And Dino Golnick, the bass player, he used to play for Ladytron, and he was already in the talks to become bass player for the Oath as well. So I had those guys at hand right away. And Gary Jennings came about because he used to play together in Cathedral with Lee Dorian, who's my label boss. And in the process of trying to find a guitar player, Lee said to me, well, why don't you ask Gaz? I mean, he's writing stuff all the time. He's playing guitar like a maniac every day. And he has tons to give. So, and he was really into the oath as well. So everybody was fire and flame, and we started writing right away. So, and it's been great because it's this kind of band where everybody is really matured as a musician, and we all really want to play and enjoy this a lot. There's no tension in the band. It's very grown up, and it's the best recording session I've ever had with a band together. Yeah, great unit, for sure.
Yes. Well, please talk a little bit about that, because I know it's so important to have the chemistry, have the balance between the members. So like you say, there's compatibility, there's no drama, no substance abuse or anyone's bringing their personal problems into a band, because even though, you make music for your passion and it should be fun, it can be a lot of drama, if, the chemistry is not right.
No, exactly, and that's actually hard to find. I mean, anybody who works in the music business and knows bands knows that, it's kind of a crazy environment. There's a lot of lunatics out there that have big egos and so on. And well, maybe some bands are feeding of that stuff, but it definitely makes it hard to be efficient. And I'm really glad, and I guess it's kind of rare, that everybody's so relaxed about it. But I think we had a lot of talks about this in the band, and everybody has been playing in bands, where you would have those kind of people that would bring a lot of problems into the band, and I guess none of us wanted to have it in this band. So, yeah, I'm very lucky.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize, that a band is like a family or like a marriage to four people, and, it has to be balanced, and it is a business, exactly. If you want to do this, as your major profession, it takes a lot of concentration to run it like a business, even though, the creativity is also involved. Tell us about how you feel the state of, metal or music is right now. Obviously, the business has gone through a lot of transitions, but how do you feel the state of, rock is, and, what Lucifer brings to that?
Well, the state of rock, hopefully rock and roll will never die. I don't know. I mean, we are just contributing what we like to do. We do this out of passion and because we're just really into it and kind of do it for ourselves, And if that catches on to people and people dig the stuff, then we're grateful and happy, Well, I've seen that there's obviously like a big revival in bands being influenced by a lot of the 70s stuff. And I get asked about this as well a lot, and I just think it's great, because we're kind of looking up to the old bands, from like 40, 50 years ago, and a lot of other bands are doing that. And I think it's a great thing because everything that came after, the 70s heavy rock stuff was kind of built on the originals. And I mean, there's a reason why bands like Black Sabbath and Deep Purple and so on are classics, because they're just that good, and I'm all for this revival. I mean, what we bring to the scene, I don't know. All I can say is that we're really sincere about it, and we love doing this, and we hope that after this record, people will perceive it well enough that it makes sense for us to return to the studio and take this out on the road as much as we can. Hopefully, people enjoy it as much as we do making it.
Yeah, well, you mentioned Black Sabbath and Deep Purple, and still groups like Judas Priest and Scorpions and AC/DC, they're all still very much alive and in demand, playing stadiums and arenas. What do you think it is about the music from the 70s that has such a lasting quality?
Well, yeah, because like I said before, everything that came after in the 80s and 90s and further on was kind of built on that stuff. And it's kind of hard nowadays to reinvent the wheel in rock and heavy metal. And I think even if, just like me, when I said I went through those phases as a teenager listening to death and black metal and so on, well, fair enough, but, I returned to those roots of this music because I realized as a musician and a music fan that this is where the quality lies, and I guess all those bands, they kind of had this original fire and spirit, and when they started making music, it was still fresh and rebellious and new, and all those bands are kind of hard to top. I mean, there's not many contemporary bands where I find the same kind of feeling as when I put on, one of those 70s records. So,
sure.
Yeah, it's hard to reinvent the wheel. I mean, that's how it is.
Well, we're very excited about the new album. There's a lot to look forward to, with the live show and the touring. Can't wait to see you guys. Now, the internet has brought some advantages, like say being able to email and Skype and trade files back and forth in the writing process. But it's also kind of made this younger generation kind of lazy in a sense. They want instant gratification. The dedication to your instrument and your craft of songwriting and musicianship and a live show is so important. So what advice do you give to the young, bands and young players coming up to let them know about the level of dedication and perseverance and, longevity that it takes to have a chance to be one of those, legendary bands?
Well, what I would say is, I mean, you do have to have some discipline, and you have to, be really into it, and you have to be sincere about it, and you have to practice, because if you want to stick around for a long time, you have to offer something. And people will filter out what really has substance, and if you don't have substance, then maybe you are lucky or something and you get to release an album, but maybe that's that then, I think sincerity, really love what you do. Don't do what people expect from you. Try to find your own voice within the music. Do something unique. Find yourself.
Well, Joanna, we appreciate your music. We can't wait to see you live, and please keep rocking.
Thank you so much, Jay. It was a pleasure speaking to you.